In this section, we're going to look at weight gain and muscle hypertrophy for athletes. When you look at strategies, this is not often talked about as much, although there are tons of people out there that have trouble gaining weight and gaining size. You probably know some of those people. Realize that, and I've got the image here to show you to illustrate the point. We have 3 different body types. We got the ectomorph, we've got the mesomorph, and we got the endomorph. And you know this, the endomorph hates the ectomorph because they can eat anything they want to and not gain weight, or they seem like that anyway, because these endomorphs, they just look at food and they start gaining weight. But at the same time, the ectomorphs, they hate the meso and the endo because they can't gain a pound. They can't gain any muscle size at all. Like this, mesomorph. I'm sort of a mesomorph. I'd probably be a better bodybuilder than I would be a endurance athlete. But, if I look at food, I start to gain weight, and I have to really control myself. And we know that muscle hypertrophy, or hypertrophy just means the gain in size. To do that, you've got to increase your calories that you're consuming, and then you also have to be engaged in a periodized strength training program. And when we talk about these two, everybody's a little different. We'll look at the calorie levels here in a little bit. This is the first time here where when you're dealing with individuals that need to gain muscle size and mass, they have to be lifting heavy. It has to be a structured program. They can't just be doing, 3 sets of 10 in the weight room. That's not going to get it done, or doing some type of circuit training routine. That's not going to get it done. So to gain this size, you've got to, in combination, increase the calorie level and then increase the strength training to where you're lifting heavy and you're lifting hard and you're breaking down that muscle tissue so it can build up stronger. And there are a number of different factors that affect your ability to gain muscle size. Like we said, because of your body type and your genetics, that's definitely going to make a play. Aging affects your ability to gain muscle mass, right? As we start to age, especially when we're less active, you get sarcopenia, where you get the decrease in muscle size there. Hormone levels also affect it. For us guys in particular, you start to decrease, your testosterone levels start to diminish, and that can affect your ability to gain muscle size. And then nutritional status. If you're not taking in enough calories, or maybe not getting the right nutrients and not getting in enough protein, that can be a challenge. So some of the strategies, and this is not as easy to find as you might think, but the numbers that I've found, and these are ballpark numbers, to gain 1 pound of muscle, you've got to consume an extra, at least a minimum 2,300 calories per week. Okay, so that's about, if you look at that, anywhere from 400 to 500 extra calories per day. And it could be even more based on the individual. This is a good starting point, an extra 400 to 500 calories per day. What I've seen in the past with athletes and clients who want to gain muscle and want to gain weight, you ask them what they're eating, and they report their foods, but once you do the calculations, it's not as many calories as they think they're eating. You hear these folks and they say, "Oh, I'm eating all the time." But when you do the math and you add these calories up, they're not consuming what they need to be consuming to gain weight and to gain size. And it's funny how that works, because, if you're working with people that want to lose weight, they're actually overestimating what they're eating, and the people that are trying to gain size and gain weight, they're underestimating what they eat. And oftentimes it's because the people that want to gain weight and gain size, they're eating really a healthful diet because they know those calories can't come from junk, right? And because they're consuming extra calories, you can, no doubt about it, eat some extra protein along with that. And this is just a ballpark figure of 15 grams. And we'll look in the next couple of modules about exactly how many grams of protein strength-trained athletes, which is basically what you need to be doing, right? And I guess I should have mentioned this before, but you can definitely throw out the treadmill, throw out the aerobic training. You've got to have a top-notch resistance training program. And like I said, you've got to be lifting heavy. You don't need to be doing any aerobic training. You need to be lifting and lifting heavy. And one of the tips that I have for you here for people that are trying to gain size is to not only increase the number of meals, a minimum of 5, the 3 meals and 2 snacks. You might even do 6, 3 meals and 3 snacks. They have to be eating more calories to gain the weight and to gain the size. Another big tip for you here is to increase the number of food items per meal. So think about how oftentimes we eat. We put 2 or 3 items on our plate and they're larger portions. Well, what happens over time is that leads to taste fatigue, where you just get tired of eating the same foods. So one suggestion is to decrease the portion sizes and increase the items on your plate. And this tends to reduce that fatigue, and so you will eat more when there's more items placed on your plate. Obviously, you never want to skip meals. And one of the things that research is still ongoing in this area is in the area of sleep. Because when you talk about gaining size and gaining muscle mass, we're really focused on recovery and enhancing recovery. And oftentimes after a workout, you think you go about your regular day and you go about your work schedule and all that. You think, I'm recovering during this time. But the true time when you recover is during sleep. This is where really, your hormones, the growth hormone kicks in, and you really start to see the changes in muscle size, and that's where really recovery takes place. Never underestimate the amount of sleep. Just think, how many hours of sleep did you get last night? Was it more than 6? Was it less than 6? Optimally, everybody has an optimal level of sleep, but 8 hours is what we always say. So there's just a lot of different strategies that you can use to help your clients and athletes gain weight and size. And it all starts with consuming more calories at a minimum of about 23 to 2,400 calories, which is, if you're looking at 400 to 500 calories extra per day, which could be up to 3,000 calories a week, right? So you got to figure out what's going to work with your client, what's going to work, and you just have to start with at a calorie level and then continue to bump that up until you start to see changes. That in combination with heavy resistance training should do the trick, plus getting adequate sleep. So with that, we'll end this Module 4 on body composition. Look forward to seeing you in the next module looking at nutrient recommendations.